I think we can manage because I see the presenter notes are here as well. So before I start about my topic today, maybe a bit of background to me, to who hasn't heard this before. I was the first person to be hired into the AWS office in Estonia. Not the first Estonian, just in the office. I was also the first to be laid off in Estonia because it was a very short experiment and they shut down the whole thing very quickly. Nevertheless, this will be my CV forever. Nobody can beat that. Also, I have been in the AWS ecosystem quite a long time, so this is where it kind of grew out that we are now these experts in cost savings. And I saw Kemit people also talking about, they did the assessment, they have the partner who helps them with this, setup, optimization. This is not something that we do. And I'll share with you a little bit as well, but the main kind of area where we excel is that we come in after all of these technical operations have been done already. And the measurement that we have is extra savings on top, because I'm sure it doesn't matter what size you are, if you're spending 1,000 or 1 million on AWS, at one point you start thinking, I could get it down maybe. So let's look at it. And how could I do it? So after you have done your first savings plan, maybe you look at reserved instances, whatever. I'm not talking about the resource optimization. That's for DevOps people. That's not me, so I don't know about that much. Of course, a little bit, but we don't do that in our day-to-day stuff. So you start, as always, how to be, in the higher cloud spend. This is a very good picture, but I saw in the agenda that I will talk about Scoro and 3 commas. It's not true. This was last year. And I will not give examples on those 2 companies today because they're not here. Or Scoro is, yeah, but not on stage with me. But cool, maybe Scoro and 3 commas here we work with, but a customer example is Tier. Which is actually now 1 company, but here brought out as 2 because we have then more experience, more customers. But they're basically micromobility, which is Bolt here, but they're in western part of Europe. So we work with smaller companies, we work with bigger companies. It can be 5 digits a month on AWS, it can be 7 digits, so it's quite broad. Everybody has their own unique setup, and then we come in and we look at it and say, okay, how can we make sure to pay less for that unique setup? So whether it's Kemit using serverless or some old bank lift and shift using just raw VMs, this is not relevant. We just look at it and then propose best ways to optimize. But I'm sure everybody knows it already, but in AWS there's quite a few ways to optimize cost. And if we look at the compute cost, which is usually the highest spender and can be optimized the most ways, there are 4 main ingredients to the cocktail. And because as a salesperson, yesterday it was said that you have to be good at drinking, I'm giving this analogy on cocktails as well. So you have savings plans, you have spot instances. I know that 2 people after me will talk more about spots, so I won't spend time on it. A little bit, 1 slide, but not that much. And then I will mostly talk about reserved instances, which are the standard ones and convertible ones. So I hope this key takeaway for everybody here, I think, is about the convertible reserved instances, what usually we don't see people using that much. But before we get to the specifics, I'll briefly go over the savings plans and the easy stuff. So savings plans can be divided into 2. You can just get a general one. I think AWS dashboard always recommends buy a savings plan, gives you the number. And then you can go into an EC2 instance-specific savings plan. And discount is different. The more in detail you go into what you want to commit for. Obviously, I'll tell that a bit later, but never mind, I'll say it here. Why does the dashboard in AWS recommend you buy a savings plan? There's this whole thing in AWS that helps you calculate the cost, help you optimize the cost, and native tools. But why is it that it's always recommendation to buy a savings plan? It's not like a bad thing that, if you have some sort of number that you're using, commit to it and get like 50% discount, for a 3-year commitment. But the why is it's better for, so there's like a good side and the bad side, and good side is that, okay, I know that I'm committing to X amount. I will get this service at a discounted rate. AWS knows they will get the money, they need to provide the service. But why do they want you to get just a compute savings plan is because if everybody goes and buys T3 savings plans, or I don't know, M5 or M6A or C, whatever, so whatever the instance specific is, then with that they have to provide that service for you. And if everybody buys one type, then they might not have enough for everybody. So that's why the compute generic one is always the safest option also for you, because if you want to migrate over from one to the other, you wouldn't be locked in. So this is like why you would use a savings plan. But as I'm sure you know, it comes with time commitment. And then we have the standard reserved instances, which are the most popular ones. You get quite a nice discount for a 3-year commitment, but you don't have to pay any money up front. And you can change those 3 things that you see on the slide. And I will talk more about this, but basically you can trade those RIs on RI Marketplace. There's a little bit of hassle to get it up and running, but it's not like a big thing to do. And it works like a stock market where you can basically buy and sell them. The trick is you don't actually buy and sell. They're more like, hey, I have this coupon, I get off 50%, do you want it? Or do you want it? Kind of like, if I don't need it anymore, I hope somebody else will get it. And it's actually a great place. If, for example, let's say I buy today a reservation for 3 years for M6G, but then in 2 years' time, I want to migrate over to the 7th generation or the 8th generation, I'm stuck with this reservation, but maybe somebody else wants it for 12 months because it only has 12 months left in it when it will expire. So as a customer using this, you can actually get a really good discounted deal with very short term commitment, because you need to kind of pay for it or get rid of it, but you don't need to get the full 3 years. And then you have the convertible reserved instances. Basically, it's just a reservation, the same way as the standard one. The difference is you can convert it. So you can basically, it's a little bit smaller discount, as you saw. We go back here, it's up to 59. It can actually be standard ones can be even 61% sometimes, but here it's usually 10 percentage points lower. So you get close to the 50 mark. And you can change the types. So if you have this idea, okay, yeah, we're going to migrate, maybe not 3 years, too long time. Maybe they will be Graviton 5.0 by that time, whatever. We don't want to lock ourselves in. Convertible RI is the way to go. And on every slide, I don't know if you're like a designer at heart or not, but I have these blue dots that should annoy everybody because they don't make sense where they are. But it's I will tell you on the last slide why they are there. And that's the whole point of the convertibles, that there are these small nuggets that are always there, and at the end they maybe give you some benefit. And then of course you have spot instances which give you quite nice discounts, but the downside is that they can take them away from you. So I'm not going to talk about spots today because we have 2 other talks that will maybe talk about that a bit more. But if not, then come ask me if you want to know more. And as I mentioned before, the savings plans do not provide a capacity reservation, which means that specific instance type might not be available for whatever reason. So you just need to switch over. I don't think it has happened yet, but this is kind of like risk mitigation from both sides. And savings instruments are either 1 or 3 year commitments, and the ones that I was talking about have the 3 year commits, because otherwise you would get 1 year commitments get maybe 20, 25, up to 31% discount. And one weird thing that happens that people often don't know about is a volume discount. So if we talk about specifically compute, In one region, you get to 500,000 committed RIs in one region per the total commitment period. AWS automatically gives you 5% discount. And when you get there, that basically means that you cannot sell those RIs on the marketplace anymore, even though that might have been your whole strategy, buying and selling, making sure that we're always lean. But it will be given to you automatically. You can't decline it, so it kind of locks you in a position where you are, you can buy the stocks from the stock market, but you cannot sell them. So you're getting, some sort of, restrictions on you again. And after all of those different, cocktail parts, the question is, what to choose for my specific case. And there is no a correct answer, because as with any beverage, there's this preference of what you like. And also, when you look at what your infrastructure is, what the team is ready to do, what's the seasonality of the app, and so on, and that cocktail might be different for each customer, each use case. But there is a way to do it manually or automatically. And I don't know if I have this. Nope. Never mind. You see the orange dotted line? This is a savings plan. So if you buy a savings plan, it's very fixed. You can combine, buy some 3-year ones, some 1-year ones. Then you buy some RIs, maybe use spots for some workloads. But you have some sort of a level where you have committed. And then the blue line is your usage, which basically shows whether you are paying on demand for some part, or you're paying for service that you're not getting because you committed too much. So this is usually the case. We see that you have some on-demand left, and you are confident of committing to X amount for X amount of time. So 40, 50% maybe you commit for 3 years, then 20, 30% for 1 year, and then you can kind of be sure that at least in 1 year, if we drop 20%, we can still manage. So you can do it manually. You can do it in an automated fashion where an algorithm tracks your usage and then it covers with these instruments. You can give it guardrails. And then the main thing is that there's no guesswork anymore, and you can cover your workloads up to 99% of them in a way where you're kind of using on-demand service, but you're paying for it on demand. You're paying for it as if you had committed for 3 years. Committed, when I say it, it sounds like committed to an insane asylum, but in my head at least, but it's not meaning just you commit to pay. The tools, there are quite many on the AWS Marketplace. You can find them, and they will mix the cocktail for you. Or you can do it manually if it's just, rum and Coke, if you want, or gin and tonic, whatever. And I mentioned those two main ingredients, which I think give the most discount and give the most flexibility in terms of what you usually have to give away for the discount. And one is the SRIs and the CRIs. And these blue nuggets and this inflate and deflate, this is, I think, the cool thing about what you can do with these convertibles. But first, the standard RIs, you can create your own user with your root account to RI Marketplace. You can see whether AWS is selling something or AWS or third parties are selling something, and you can just buy them. Yes, if you start making money off those RIs, then you pay 12% to AWS, but the reality is that most of this trading on those marketplaces are done by bots, and they just give away and take away those coupons. So no money is being made or being paid for those. It's more about please take away my commitment so I don't have to pay for it anymore. And the convertibles, maybe a bit slower. Yeah, convertibles, this is where the magic happens. So let's assume for a use case that you buy a 3-year convertible reserved instance. You commit to $360,000 for the 3 years, which means a monthly commitment is 10K. So you have to pay 10K. Convertible means that you can change the instance type as all of the other stuff that I mentioned, but it will stay in the region. So you cannot change the region on convertible. That's why they recommend savings plans, because it's all over the place. But convertible is specific to a region. That's why it gives a bit of a better discount as well. So let's say 12 months goes by, you are at the 10K mark. Now what has happened is that you have left, or you have paid up 120K, and you're left with 240K more of a commitment. Still 10K a month, still the same. Now, where the magic happens, I'll go to the next slide, is when all of that is done, you can choose. It doesn't have to be 12 months, but this is for this example, to make it a bit more clear. So there's two ways to now work on it further. Either you have inclined, or you have increased in your usage, or you have decreased. So in one example, you need to get rid of the commitment, and in another, you need to, hopefully increase the commitment to get the discount. So one way to do it is you now deflate the CRI. It basically just means, because you buy those small nuggets every month, like 1 cent CRI, you start buying it. Oh, key takeaway, I'll tell it later again, but maybe I forget. If nothing else, you will remember it. Remember, just start buying CRI nuggets. In the region that you have most workloads, CRI nugget is like a 1 cent commitment. You start buying them today, and every month you buy one. And I'll tell you later what that means. But it's kind of like saving. If somebody says save 100 euros every month, you're like, that's not that much. But after 3 years, still not that much, but it's something. So we can change the term, which means that today, if we need to decrease, now we need to pay 6.6K a month. We increased it to the 3-year term. So when you convert reserved instances, it will always take the term of the last one that will expire. So if you merge 5 different ones together, if you split them, whatever, they will always get what is the longest in terms of the expiration. So if you keep buying those nuggets, after 3 years, you get full flexibility in terms of always being on demand, always paying as if you had 3 years committed all of those numbers that I've mentioned here. And we have actually customers that have reached that state, and it's very flexible to actually provide that. So in this case, we needed to deflate the CRI. Now the commitment is still 240, but it's every month it's 6.6K. And it's also not done in like a big bulk or big chunk way that you just buy one CRI, and if you have a 24x large machine, you buy it. It's more done in like you buy smaller chunks because it gives more flexibility, but that's a whole other topic. Now let's look at if you increase in usage and you don't want to pay on demand, then the other way to do it is you keep the same term, but because of those nuggets now, you increase the monthly commit. You still have the same discount, but now the period is shorter. So you get to enjoy the fact that in 2 years' time, we don't have to pay anything, but today we can actually enjoy it as if we had committed to 3 years, but we only have 2 years left. And in this case, we're also increasing the number commitment because your workloads are increasing, so that kind of comes with the territory. All right. I'm used to any questions, but maybe we'll do that later. Now let's talk about the customer example as well. As I mentioned before, we have customers that are spending 4 figures, 5 figures, some are spending 7 figures, so it's a lot of different sizing. And it's also never the case when you talk to somebody, no, we're already using everything, we have everything. I'm pretty sure that everybody here, even if you're a startup spending 1,000, you're already looking at how can we kind of maybe do a commitment for 400 or whatever and then get like a discount. So it's never like a place where we come in, clean slate, nothing's done, and we get from 0 to 100. Always there's teams, there's people and maybe help from AWS, that's not like a deterrent of where we can help. But anyway, let's look at the customer example. In this case, due to an NDA, I can't tell you what the name. It's a European financial institution regulated by the European Central Bank. They have a large internal cloud team, both FinOps and DevOps. And also, because they are very heavy spenders, they have their own technical account manager from AWS, account managers, so they work very closely with them. They also have, when we started, they had 1.3 monthly AWS cost. Not that we can change it half off, but that's what they had. Out of the compute cost, 40%, as I mentioned before, this is quite standard, is covered with a 3-year savings plan. And because it's a huge bank, they had even bought it half up front, so they get a bigger discount there. 40% on top of that was covered with 1-year savings plans, and 20% was left on demand because they were constantly talking about and doing different exercises and activities to lower the spend. And when we go in, we look at one metric that gives us understanding and also the customer, like what is the potential and what can we do. So the effective savings rate was 33.3%. And how we get that is we take whatever they're saving today, so just whatever, is it 20%, 30%, doesn't matter. The savings is 10, this is the number we take, and then we divide it by the effective cost. As if there were no savings, no commitments, what would be the on-demand equivalent of that cost? So from what they were supposed to be spending, they were saving 33%, which was nice. It was on target. That was great. Nothing like too bad from it. But once we applied a little bit of secret sauce and magic on top of it with these CRIs and SRIs, also because the customer is so huge, they have their own EDP with AWS, so it limits what can be done. But if you know those limits beforehand, it's very easy to kind of swim in the pond and make sure that you're getting the maximum out of it. So yeah, we gave it a good shake, added all the pieces together. Nothing changed in the first part. So they still have the 3-year savings plan. And most likely they're going to renew it once they expire. And here's another thing. Maybe it's best not to buy one 3-year savings plan. How about you buy one every quarter? So after 2 years or 3 years, one already expires, but it's only a small chunk, so it gives you more flexibility. So that's another easy way to mitigate risk in that sense. And it's again like a longer play in that sense, where it makes sense if you look at the 5-year window. But if you want it now, you might be losing out on savings from the first 3 months. So we pooled together for the customer the 1-year savings plans, which were about to expire in a couple of months, and the on-demand, which left about 60% of the total spend. And now we covered those with short-term standard RIs, which were in the marketplace, because the region for that bank was in Frankfurt. There's a great potential, a lot of instances. Also, based on what are available, we can change some workloads if that's needed. So we chose longer-lasting workloads and covered them with 1 to 18-month expiry date SRIs. Remainder got covered with convertible RIs. So that basically brought in 2 aspects of both of those instruments provide flexibility, and we can use both of them depending on where we are, what we're doing. Today, the customer needs to spend $1 more million a year because they have declined so much in usage that they need to cover the commitment. But CRIs provide that because there are no upfront. We can just merge them to partial upfront, full upfront. It's not a problem. Nothing changes for the customer. They just pay this $1 million in advance. Everybody is happy, and no extra commitments made. So now we got to 100,000 additional monthly savings. If maybe the example is too far away from reality, we can just take zeros off of it and replicate it the same way, because percentages work the same anyway. And one good thing is that we doubled the effective savings rate, which is the metric where we look at it. And we're not replacing anybody. Nobody got fired. It's more about now we can, they have money left over for new projects that they had planned anyway. And yeah, if we look at it, key takeaways. Yeah, whatever floats your boat, depending on the use case. This is the case. It might be enough that you just do it, like I said, you buy those CRI nuggets every month, and then 3 years later you have full flexibility, but during those 3 you're just growing, maybe from 100 to 1,000 to 10K in spend. And you can pour your own drink, or you can use the tools that are on the AWS marketplace to make it for you. And yeah, what it could mean, you doing it directly or using tools, is basically doubling the savings that you're currently getting. And this is what we have seen as well, that when we do the POC, on top of what you are doing today, this is what could be done. And now to those blue dots on the screen, if you buy CRI nuggets every month, it compounds and it gives more flexibility. When I showed this example of you can convert them, in 3 years' time, if you have bought one every month, that means that on month 35, you could convert those together in a way where you're only using 1 month, but you're getting three-year commitment discount, even though you're just having 1 month spent. So this is the magic that happens with convertible RIs. I hope this was useful for you. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you, Ott. Do you have questions?
I guess I'm not government sector, so not that many questions.
Nope, just a picture. Okay.
All good.
Thank you. So my question is also about utilization. So if you look at the AWS, there is those coverage utilization reports. Is it true that in order to get those RIs, you need to have also utilization of the resources?
No, you can buy RIs without any utilization, so it doesn't matter in that sense, because those are just coupons that give you a discount. Whether you're actually using the resource, it's irrelevant, because you still need to pay for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no questions. So
yeah, just
everybody's
find me on
clear.
LinkedIn and ask me.
Yes, please find. Let's give a round of applause to it.
Thank you. Aitäh.